He went to inspect her body per alien law, but her eyes said, "Don't leave me, Lieutenant Commander Jake." Morrison had seen his share of strange assignments during his 5 years aboard the orbital station Meridian's Edge, but nothing quite like this. The request had come directly from Admiral Blackstone's office. Perform a mandatory biological inspection on a high priority diplomatic visitor from the Zephyrian Empire. Standard protocol, they said. Routine procedure, they assured him. Jake should have known better. Nothing involving the Zephyrians was ever routine. He adjusted his medical scanner one final time and checked the readings on his portable bioanalyzer. The equipment hummed quietly in his hands, familiar and reliable. As the station's chief medical inspector, he'd conducted hundreds of these examinations. Alien dignitaries, trade representatives, military attaches, all required thorough biological screening before being granted access to human facilities. It was tedious work, but necessary for maintaining interspecies safety protocols. The diplomatic quarters on Level 7 were reserved for VIP guests, featuring adaptive environmental controls and luxury amenities that made Jake's cramped officers. Quarters looked like a storage closet. He palmed the entry sensor and waited for the soft chime that would announce his arrival. "Come in," called a voice from within, melodic and warm, despite the universal translator's mechanical undertones. Jake stepped through the doorway and immediately felt his professional composure waver. The woman female, he corrected himself, using proper xenobiological terminology, stood near the viewing board, silhouetted against the stars. She was tall, perhaps 6 feet, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, shifting between pale gold and silver, depending on the angle. Her hair cascaded in waves of deep copper, and when she turned to face him, her eyes were the color of midnight storms. "I am Zara Velthara," she said, inclining her head in what Jake recognized as a formal Zephyrian greeting. "I understand you are here to conduct the ritual inspection." "Ritual?" Jake set his equipment on the nearby table, frowning. "Ma'am, this is just a standard biological compatibility assessment. Nothing ritualistic about it." Something flickered across Zara's expression, surprise, perhaps, or concern. "Of course," she said carefully. "I misspoke. Your language is still challenging for me." Jake activated his bioscanner and began the preliminary readings. "Just standard procedure, Ambassador Velthara. I'll need to take some basic measurements, check for any biological incompatibilities, document any special environmental needs. Should take about 30 minutes. Please," she said, moving closer to the examination area. "Call me Zara, and please take all the time you need. This process is important to me." There was something in her tone that made Jake look up from his scanner. Zara was watching him with an intensity that went beyond mere cooperation with bureaucratic procedure. Her gaze seemed to catalog every detail of his appearance. His dark hair, the scar along his left jaw from a training accident, the way his hands moved efficiently over the medical equipment. "Are you nervous about the inspection?" Jake asked, adjusting the scanner settings. "Some species find the process invasive, but I assure you, everything is strictly professional." "Nervous?" Zara's laugh was like silver bells. "No, Commander Morrison. I am hopeful." Jake began the examination, starting with basic physiological scans. The bioanalyzer painted a holographic outline of Zara's internal systems, revealing a cardiovascular structure remarkably similar to human anatomy, though with some fascinating variations. Her heart rate was elevated, but not dangerously so. Her nervous system showed enhanced conductivity, suggesting superior reflexes and coordination. "Interesting," Jake murmured, studying the readings. "Your species has adapted for enhanced physical performance. The bone density readings are impressive." "We are a warrior people," Zara said, though her voice carried pride rather than aggression. Survival on Zephyria required strength and endurance. As Jake continued his examination, he became increasingly aware of Zara's focused attention. She answered his questions with careful precision, but her eyes never left his face. When he needed to take physical measurements, reflexes, coordination, basic neurological responses, she complied with a grace that was both professional and somehow intimate. "Your touch is gentle," she observed as he tested her reflexes with a neural stimulator. "Not all males of your species possess such ... consideration." Jake paused, meeting her gaze. "I try to be thorough without being invasive. Medical examination shouldn't be uncomfortable." "No," Zara agreed, but something in her expression suggested she was thinking of entirely different kinds of discomfort. "It should not be." The examination continued for another hour, far longer than Jake had initially estimated. Every test revealed new complexities in Zephyrian biology that required additional documentation. Zara's muscle fibers showed enhanced efficiency. Her nervous system demonstrated remarkable adaptability, and her bone structure was both stronger and more flexible than human equivalents. "This is fascinating," Jake said, reviewing the compiled data on his tablet. "Your species has remarkable biological advantages. The healing rate indicators suggest you can recover from injuries at nearly twice the human rate." "We are bred for resilience," Zara replied, though something in her tone made Jake look up sharply. "Bred?" he asked. "You mean evolved, right? Natural selection?" Zara's expression became carefully neutral. "Of course. Evolution. My language centers sometimes translate poorly under stress." Jake sensed there was more to her word choice than simple translation error, but he let it pass. He was nearly finished with the examination when his scanner detected something unusual. "That's odd," he muttered, adjusting the settings. "I'm reading some kind of biochemical marker. Elevated neurotransmitter production. Are you feeling all right? Any symptoms of illness or discomfort?" Zara's cheeks took on a subtle golden flush. "I am ... affected by the examination process. It is normal for my species." "Affected how?" Jake's professional concern overrode his curiosity about her embarrassment. "I need to document any physiological responses to ensure you're not experiencing an allergic reaction to the station's environment." "It is not an allergic reaction," Zara said quietly. "Commander Morrison, I must ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Do you know anything about Zephyrian mating customs?" Jake's blood ran cold. "Mating customs? Why would—" He stopped, staring at her. "Oh God, please tell me this isn't what I think it is." Zara's golden flush deepened. "The biological examination you have performed, the detailed analysis of my physical form, the touching ... She paused, taking a shaky breath. "Under Zephyrian law, this constitutes the first bonding ritual." "First bonding?" Jake's voice rose. "An octave. You mean like marriage?" "More permanent than marriage," Zara corrected. "A first bonding creates a physiological connection between mates. Your thorough examination of my body, your approval of my physical worthiness, your careful touch, all of this triggers biological responses that cannot be undone." Jake stared at his medical scanner as if it had suddenly become a weapon. "But I didn't know. This was supposed to be a routine medical examination." "Knowledge is not required for the bonding to take effect," Zara said, her voice steady despite the obvious emotion in her eyes. "The ritual has been completed, whether you understood its significance or not." "So what does this mean?" Jake asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. "It means," Zara said, stepping closer to him, "that according to Zephyrian law, we are now bonded mates. You belong to me, and I ... double quotes." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I belong to you." Jake's tablet slipped from his fingers and clattered to the floor. "This is insane. You can't just declare someone your mate Because they gave you a medical exam. I did not declare it, Zara said, her eyes never leaving his face. The ritual declared it. Your hands on my body, your assessment of my fitness, your acceptance of my biological compatibility, all of this has deep meaning in my culture. But what about your culture's beliefs about consent? Jake demanded. What about personal choice? Zara's expression softened. Choice was made when I requested you specifically for this examination. I researched your background, your character, your reputation. I knew what would happen when you touched me. You planned this. Jake's voice was flat. You deliberately set this up. Yes, Zara admitted, lifting her chin with defiant pride. I have been searching for a worthy mate for 3 years. When I learned of your assignment to this station, I convinced my government to arrange a diplomatic mission that would bring me here. Why me? Jake asked, though part of him already knew the answer from the way she was looking at him. Because you are kind, Zara said simply. Because you are intelligent and dedicated to your work. Because when you touch someone, even in a medical capacity, you do so with respect and care. And because, she paused, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper, because I have been watching you for months through diplomatic channels, and I knew you were the only male who could complete my bonding. Jake stared at her, his mind reeling. So what happens now? Zara's smile was radiant and terrifying. Now, my bonded mate, we begin our life together. Jake's unit chose that moment to chirp with an incoming priority message. He glanced at the display and groaned. Captain Rodriguez, the station commander, was requesting an immediate status report on the diplomatic inspection. Jake to Rodriguez, he said, accepting the call with a growing sense of doom. Morrison, please tell me the VIP inspection went smoothly. Rodriguez's voice carried the particular strain of someone managing multiple crises simultaneously. I've got 3 different departments asking for clearance confirmations. Jake looked at Zara, who was watching the conversation with alert interest. Well, Captain, it's been ... educational. Educational? That doesn't sound like a standard medical clearance. Is there a problem with the compatibility ratings? Not exactly a compatibility problem, Jake said carefully. More of a cultural issue. Rodriguez's tone sharpened. What kind of cultural issue? Jake closed his eyes. A kind where I'm apparently married now. The silence on the channel stretched for nearly 15 seconds. Morrison, Rodriguez finally said, his voice very carefully controlled. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was, Captain. Turns out what we call a biological inspection, they call a bonding ritual. Who knew? Bonding ritual? Rodriguez's voice climbed an octave. As in permanently bonded? According to Ambassador Valthara, yes. Mated for life, apparently. I'll be right there, Rodriguez said quickly. Don't do anything. Don't say anything. Don't even breathe wrong until I arrive. The channel closed, leaving Jake and Zara alone again. Your commander seems distressed, Zara observed. That's putting it mildly. Jake slumped into one of the suite's adaptive chairs. This is going to be a diplomatic nightmare. I could help with the administrative complications, Zara offered. Bonded mates traditionally share all responsibilities. Despite everything, Jake found himself almost smiling. You want to help me with paperwork? I am quite skilled with information systems. My education was ... comprehensive. Before Jake could ask what kind of comprehensive education she meant, the suite's door chimed. Captain Rodriguez entered at a pace somewhere between urgent and panicked. His usually pristine uniform showed signs of hasty preparation, and he carried a tablet that looked like it might explode from overuse. Morrison, Rodriguez said without preamble, please tell me you can fix this. I fix medical problems, Captain. I don't fix diplomatic incidents. This isn't just a diplomatic incident. Rodriguez consulted his tablet, scrolling through pages of dense text. I've been researching Zephyrian bonding law for the last 20 minutes. If this is legitimate, we're looking at potential trade implications, security considerations, and... He paused, his face growing pale. Oh God, the publicity. Publicity? Jake asked. Human-alien bonding is media gold. If this gets out, we'll have reporters crawling all over the station. And that's assuming the Zephyrian Empire doesn't decide to make this a political issue. Zara cleared her throat politely. Perhaps I should clarify something. Both men turned to look at her. I am not simply a trade representative, she said calmly. I am Princess Zara Velthara, heir to the Zephyrian imperial throne. Rodriguez's tablet clattered to the floor. Princess? Second in line for imperial succession, Zara confirmed. Though the mathematics of royal inheritance among my people is quite complex. Jake stared at her. Your royalty? I prefer to think of myself as a public servant with hereditary obligations. Your alien royalty, Jake said flatly, and you just bonded yourself to a station medical officer. This can't get any worse, Rodriguez muttered. Actually, it can, Zara said apologetically. The bonding has been reported to the Imperial Council. There are ... complications. What kind of complications? Jake asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know. Commander Thane Coridex has filed a formal challenge. He claims prior bonding rights based on an arranged union contract established when I reached maturity. The color drained from Jake's face. Arranged marriage? The contract was never finalized, Zara said quickly. I never consented to the arrangement. But it exists, Rodriguez said, recovering his tablet. Which means we have a legal dispute between two potential mates for an alien princess. How do these disputes typically get resolved? Jake asked, though he was beginning to suspect he really didn't want to know the answer. Zara's expression grew serious. Trial by combat. Or, in cases involving different species, a contest of worth. Contest of worth? Rodriguez looked like he was developing an ulcer. Each claimant must demonstrate their ability to provide for and protect the contested. Mate, Zara explained. The contest consists of 3 trials: strength, wisdom, and devotion. Jake felt his stomach drop. And if I refuse to participate, then Coridex's claim stands by default, and I return with him to fulfill the original arrangement. What happens? If you go back? Jake asked, though something in Zara's expression told him he already knew. I become the property of a male who believes females should be silent and obedient, Zara said quietly. My education, my preferences, my individual identity, none of that would matter. Jake looked at her carefully controlled expression and saw the fear she was trying to hide. When is this contest? Commander Coridex's fleet will arrive in 48 hours. The contest will be held immediately upon his arrival. Rodriguez made a strangled sound. Fleet? 17 battle cruisers and associated support vessels, Zara said matter-of-factly. This just keeps getting better, Jake muttered, but he was looking at Zara's face, at the vulnerability she was trying so hard to conceal. Choose wisely, Commander Morrison, Zara said softly. My future depends on your decision. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of frantic preparation and impossible decisions. Jake found himself in the unprecedented position of preparing for an alien trial by combat while trying to maintain his regular duties. The station's medical bay had never seen so much activity as various departments scrambled to understand Zephyrian law and customs. Okay, let me see if I understand this correctly, Jake said, reviewing the translated documents Rodriguez had managed to procure. The contest of worth consists of 3 trials, and I have to compete against a trained warrior, Prince, who's been preparing for this his entire life. That's an accurate summary, Zara confirmed. She had insisted on helping with the preparation, despite Rodriguez's protests about potential conflicts of interest. Though I should mention that Coridex has never lost a formal challenge. Wonderful, Jake muttered. What exactly do these trials involve? Zara consulted her own tablet, which contained what appeared to be the complete Zephyrian legal code. The trial of strength tests physical capability and combat prowess. The trial of wisdom evaluates strategic thinking and problem-solving abilities. The trial of devotion. She paused, a slight flush coloring her cheeks. The trial of devotion measures how well a mate understands and cherishes their partner's true nature. Combat prowess, Jake repeated. I'm a medical officer, not a warrior. Zephyrian combat trials are not typically lethal, Zara said quickly. They are designed to test capability, not eliminate opponents. Not typically lethal? Rodriguez looked up from his own research. What does that mean exactly? Accidents happen, Zara admitted. Coridex is known for his enthusiasm in competition. Jake spent the next several hours in the station's gymnasium, working with Chief Petty Officer Williams to rapidly improve his combat skills. Williams, a former Marine, was blunt in his assessment. You're not going to become a warrior overnight. Doc, Williams said, adjusting Jake's defensive stance. But you're quick, and you're smart. Use that. How do I use intelligence in hand-to-hand combat? Jake asked, blocking a practice strike. By not fighting their fight, Williams replied. Find the rules, then find ways to bend them without breaking them. Meanwhile, Zara worked with the station's diplomatic staff to prepare for the trial of wisdom. Unlike the physical trial, this one would be conducted according to Zephyrian intellectual traditions. It's essentially a complex puzzle-solving exercise, she explained to Jake during a brief break from training. Multiple scenarios requiring strategic thinking, resource management, and creative problem-solving. That sounds more manageable, Jake said, accepting a towel from Williams. The scenarios are typically based on situations relevant to protecting and providing for a mate, Zara continued. Managing resources during a crisis, defending against threats, making difficult decisions under pressure. Jake noticed that Zara was being unusually thorough in her explanations, as if she were trying to give him every possible advantage. You're helping me prepare to fight for you, he observed. Isn't that considered cheating? The law allows for preparation, Zara said. Carefully. What it doesn't allow is direct interference during the trials themselves. And the trial of devotion? Jake asked. How do I prepare for that? Zara's expression grew serious. That trial cannot be prepared for with study or practice. It requires genuine understanding. Understanding of what? Of me, Zara said simply. Of who I am beyond the titles and expectations. Of what I truly need from a bonded mate. Jake found himself studying her face, noting the way her eyes seemed to hold depths he hadn't noticed before. What do you need? That, Zara said softly, is what the trial will determine. The station's alert system chimed, indicating an incoming priority transmission. Rodriguez appeared on the Kung display, his expression grim. They're here, he announced. Coridex's fleet just dropped out of hyperspace. They're requesting permission to send a diplomatic shuttle. Jake felt his stomach clench. How long do we have? The formal challenge begins in 6 hours, Rodriguez replied. The contest will be held in the main cargo bay. It's the only space large enough to accommodate both human and Zephyrian observers. 6 hours, Jake repeated. He looked at Zara, who was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Are you ready for this? The question, Zara said, is whether you are ready. Once the trials begin, there is no turning back. Win or lose, the outcome will determine the rest of both our lives. Jake considered this. 6 hours ago, he had been a simple medical officer with a routine assignment. Now he was preparing to fight for the freedom of an alien princess who had deliberately maneuvered him into a bonding ritual. It should have been terrifying, and part of it was. But another part of him, a part he was only beginning to understand, was absolutely certain of one thing. "I'm ready," he said, meeting Zara's gaze. "But I need to know something first. This whole situation, the bonding ritual, the contest, everything, it's not just about escaping an arranged marriage, is it?" Zara's carefully controlled expression faltered for just a moment, and Jake saw something raw and vulnerable in her eyes. "No," she whispered. "It's not just about escape. It's about choosing the life I want to live, with the person I want to share it with. Even if that person is a human medical officer who didn't know what he was getting into." Zara's smile was radiant. "Especially because of that. You chose to help me not because you were bound by law or tradition, but because you saw that I needed help. That kind of choice, that kind of caring, it's exactly what I've been searching for." Jake felt something shift inside him, a recognition of something he hadn't realized he'd been searching for as well. "Then let's go win this thing." The main cargo bay had been transformed into an arena worthy of ancient gladiatorial combat. Zephyrian technology provided holographic displays and environmental controls, while human engineering ensured structural integrity and safety systems. Representatives from both species filled the observation galleries, their faces reflecting the historic significance of what was about to unfold. Commander Thane Coridex stood at the center of the arena, and Jake immediately understood why Zara had been so concerned. The Zephyrian warrior was imposing even by his species standards, nearly 7 feet tall, with the kind of physical presence that suggested violence was always just beneath the surface. His armor was ceremonial but functional, decorated with what Jake assumed were battle honors and clan symbols. "So," Coridex said, his voice carrying easily across the arena despite the translator's mechanical undertones, "this is the human who dares to claim bonding rights to an imperial princess." "I'm Jake Morrison," Jake replied, stepping forward, "and I'm here to honor the bonding that's already been established." Coridex's laugh was like grinding metal. "Honor? You speak of honor while stealing a mate through trickery and alien customs you don't understand. I speak of honor while standing here to defend the choice of a woman who has the right to make her own decisions." Jake shot back. "The Zephyrians." Expression shifted, and Jake caught a glimpse of genuine anger beneath the ceremonial posturing. "Females do not choose. They are chosen. It is the natural order." "Not on my watch," Jake said. The formal arbiter, a elderly Zephyrian female whose presence commanded respect from both sides, stepped forward. "A contest of worth will now begin. First trial, strength." The arena floor reconfigured itself, creating a circular combat space surrounded by energy barriers. Coridex drew his ceremonial weapon, a staff-like device that crackled with energy, and took a fighting stance. "Human," the arbiter said, "you may choose your weapon from the selection provided." Jake surveyed the weapons display, noting various alien implements designed for combat. Instead, he walked to the human equipment section and selected a simple medical scanner. "That is not a weapon," Coridex said, his tone dismissive. "It is for me," Jake replied. The trial began with Coridex's immediate attack, his energy staff cutting through the air with lethal precision. Jake dodged, using his medical scanner to analyze the weapon's energy patterns. Within seconds, he had identified the device's frequency and timing. "Interesting," he murmured, adjusting his scanner settings. "Bioelectric feedback weapon, designed to disrupt nervous system function." Jake continued to evade Coridex's attacks while using his scanner to map the warrior's physical condition. Heart rate, muscle tension, fatigue indicators, all the data he needed to predict movement patterns. "Stand and fight." Coridex roared, frustrated by Jake's defensive tactics. "I am fighting," Jake replied, suddenly darting forward. His scanner, reconfigured to emit a focused electromagnetic pulse, disrupted the energy staff's power cell for just long enough for Jake to get inside Korodex's guard. The medical neural stimulator he'd palm activated sent a precise electrical charge through Korodex's nervous system, not enough to cause damage, but sufficient to temporarily disable voluntary muscle control. The warrior collapsed, his body paralyzed, but his mind fully aware. Trial of strength, Human Morrison, the arbiter announced. The second trial transformed the arena into a complex puzzle environment. Multiple scenarios played out simultaneously: resource allocation during a crisis, strategic planning under pressure, defensive positioning against various threats. Korodex approached each scenario with military precision, his solutions effective but conventional. Jake, however, saw patterns the warrior missed. His medical training had taught him to think systemically, to see connections between seemingly unrelated symptoms. Crisis management isn't just about force, Jake said. Working through a scenario involving station evacuation during a system failure. It's about understanding how different systems interact and finding solutions that address root causes, not just symptoms. His unconventional approaches, using medical quarantine protocols to optimize resource distribution, applying diagnostic techniques to identify systemic vulnerabilities, proved more effective than Korodex's traditional military strategies. Trial of wisdom, Human Morrison, the arbiter announced. The final trial was the most intimate. Jake and Korodex were each asked to demonstrate their understanding of Zara's true nature, her needs, her fears, her dreams. Korodex spoke of duty, honor, and the importance of maintaining traditional roles. His vision of their bonding involved Zara as a decorative addition to his military career, a symbol of his success rather than a partner in life. Jake's approach was different. Zara needs intellectual stimulation, he said, addressing the arbiter, but keeping his eyes on Zara. She needs to be valued for her mind, not just her bloodline. She needs freedom to make choices, even if those choices are difficult or unconventional. He paused, then continued. She needs someone who sees her, as she truly is brilliant, brave, and capable of changing the world if given the chance. She doesn't need to be protected from challenges. She needs a partner who will face challenges with her. And what do you need from her? The arbiter asked. Jake looked directly at Zara, and his voice carried across the arena. I need her too. Keep challenging me to be better than I thought I could be. I need her intelligence and her strength and her courage. And I need her to know that no matter what happens, she will always have the right to choose her own path. The arbiter considered both presentations, then nodded. Trial of devotion, Human Morrison. Korodex's roar of rage echoed through the arena. This is impossible. I am the superior warrior. I am the better provider. You are the better traditional. Male, the arbiter replied calmly. But this female requires a different kind of strength. Jake walked to where Zara stood in the observation area, and the energy barrier dissolved to allow him through. So, he said, offering his hand, ready to start our life together? Zara's smile was radiant as she took his hand. I thought you'd. Never ask. As they walked together toward the arena exit, Jake reflected on the most unusual day of his life. He'd started the morning as a simple medical officer and ended it as the bonded mate of an alien princess. It wasn't the life he'd planned, but looking at Zara's face, seeing the joy and gratitude and love in her eyes, he realized it was exactly the life he'd been meant to live. So, what happens now? He asked. Now, Zara said, squeezing his hand, we figure out how to blend two very different worlds into one life together. Jake grinned. I think I can work with that. Behind them, the arena dissolved back into a simple cargo bay, but the echoes of their triumph lingered in the air. Love. It seemed truly could conquer all, even interstellar law and ancient traditions. The bonding was complete.